No one in the village remembered the last time it rained this intensely. The sky had turned a bruised shade of gray since dawn, and by afternoon, the clouds unleashed a storm that swallowed everything in its path. Roads vanished under sheets of rushing water. The sound of the rain hitting the rooftops was so violent it made the windows tremble. By evening, the village was already drowning. Lee stood under the eaves of his workshop, staring at the river that had once been a calm, narrow stream. Now it roared like a monster, swollen and furious, carrying branches, debris, and the fear of every soul living nearby. But what terrified Lee wasn't the rising flood. It was the fact that Tusome's rented room lay only a few meters from the riverbank, the very place the water would claim first. He tried calling her again, and again. The same robotic voice kept telling him the number could not be reached. The longer the storm raged, the sharper the fear inside him grew. Something felt wrong, terribly wrong. Tusome always replied to him, no matter how late, no matter how tired she was. She wasn't the kind of person who simply disappeared without a word, not on a night like this. Not when the world seemed ready to collapse under the weight of the storm. Lee paced back and forth, unable to stand still. His clothes were soaked from an earlier attempt to check the surrounding areas, but he didn't care. His heart hammered painfully each time lightning tore across the sky. The rain made everything blurry, but even through the downpour, he imagined Tusome alone in the dark, frightened, calling for help that might never come. A sudden crack of thunder made the electricity cut out. Darkness smothered the workshop. In that moment, something inside Lee snapped. Fear turned into decision. He grabbed a flashlight, tightened the straps of his raincoat, and stepped out into the chaos without a second thought. The floodwater surged around his legs as soon as he reached the main road, but Lee pushed forward, driven by one thought, one name, Tusome. Every drop of rain felt like a warning, but he didn't stop. He couldn't, because deep down, he knew one truth. If he didn't go now, there might be nothing left to save. And so, under a sky torn open by the storm, Lee ran into the flood. His heartbeat drowned beneath the roar of the rain. His clothes clung to his skin. The cold cut into his bones. But love, raw, desperate, and terrified, pushed him onward. Toward her. Toward the room where he prayed she was still alive. The rain had not stopped for hours. Outside, the world was nothing but a blur of gray, wind, and roaring water. But inside the small rental room, Tusome felt even more trapped, helpless, isolated, and terrified. She had been asleep when the first splash against her floor woke her. At first, she thought it was just another leak from the ceiling. But when she stepped down, the cold sting of ankle-deep water shot straight through her bones. "Not now, please, not today," she whispered shakily as she rushed to push her belongings onto higher shelves. But the water rose faster than she could think. Within minutes, it was already halfway up her calves. The corridor outside was completely flooded, the door swollen and jammed shut. She tried pushing it with all her strength, but it didn't move, only groaned against the pressure of the water beating from outside. Her breathing grew uneven. Her phone, her only lifeline, was nearly out of battery. She held it tightly, trying to call someone, anyone. But the signal flickered, the screen froze, and then the device shut down completely. Darkness swallowed the room as the electricity failed. Tusome stood there, soaked and shaking, surrounded by rising water that carried away shoes, papers, and the small wooden box where she kept memories of her mother. She grabbed it quickly, clutching it to her chest like a fragile treasure. Her legs trembled. Her lips quivered. Her heart pounded against her ribs so violently she thought it might burst. "Lee," she whispered, barely audible, "where are you?" Minutes stretched into what felt like hours. The storm roared louder, shaking the thin walls of her tiny room. Water now reached her waist, icy and relentless. She climbed onto her bed, hugging her knees, trying to stay above the rising flood. At one moment, she truly believed she would not make it out. Her thoughts spiraled, fear, regret, longing, blending together like the storm outside. She thought of Lee's smile, the warmth in his eyes, the way he always told her she would never face danger alone. She thought of their unfinished conversations, their quiet promises, the feelings she had never dared to voice. "Please," she whispered into the darkness, "please let me see him again." Then, cutting through the storm like a blade, she heard it. A voice, faint, drowned by the rain, but unmistakably calling her name. "To Sam!" Her heart dropped, then leaped. Could it be him? The world had turned dark by the time I reached the deeper part of the flooded road. The storm had devoured the last traces of daylight, leaving only the pale flashes of lightning to guide me. Each strike revealed the chaos around me: broken fences, drifting branches, and swirling brown water that rose higher with every step I took. "To Sam!" I shouted again, my voice cracking with exhaustion and fear. The rain slapped my face so hard it stung like needles, but I kept moving, pushing through the current that clawed at my legs. I didn't care if the whole village was underwater. I didn't care if the river had burst its banks. I only cared about one thing: finding her. Then, between two flashes of lightning, I finally saw it. A small figure clinging to the side of an overturned wooden cart, her head barely above the raging water. "Sam!" Her head jerked up. For a moment, I thought my heart would break. Her eyes, wide with terror and hope, found mine across the angry water. "Lee!" she cried, her voice trembling. "Don't come. I'm stuck. The current is too strong." But she should have known better. There was no force in this world strong enough to keep me from reaching her. I pushed forward, the water now at my chest. Every muscle in my body screamed, but I kept swimming, reaching, fighting. A wave slammed into me, forcing me under the surface. For a terrifying second, everything went black and silent. But then I remembered her voice, her laugh, her trembling confession days ago, her fear, her trust. I broke through the surface again and kept going until I reached her side. "Give me your hand," I shouted. She hesitated, not because she doubted me, but because she feared she would pull me down with her. But I wasn't asking. I grabbed her wrist, cold and shaking, and braced myself against the cart. "Hold on to me," I told her, my voice low and steady despite the storm. "Lee, I'm scared," she whispered, rain mixing with tears. "I know," I murmured, pulling her close, "but I'm here now, and I'm not letting anything take you away from me." Lightning flashed again, illuminating the two of us locked together in the middle of the flood, two souls fighting against a world that kept trying to tear them apart. But this time, I refused to lose her. The rain finally eased into a soft drizzle, leaving behind the scent of wet earth and shattered branches. The floodwaters still covered the village road, but they were slowly retreating, revealing a world that looked wounded, yet alive. I stood outside the small clinic, drenched clothes replaced with a dry shirt someone had lent me, my hair still dripping. But none of that mattered. All I cared about was the door behind which Tusome was resting. When the doctor finally stepped out, wiping his glasses, I rushed forward. "Is she okay?" My voice cracked from exhaustion and fear. He smiled gently. "Thanks to you, yes. She inhaled a lot of water, and her body is weak from the shock, but she will recover fully. She has been asking for you." My heart tightened at those last words. I pushed open the door quietly. Sam was lying on the bed, her hair messy, her cheeks pale, her lips bruised from the cold water, but when her eyes opened and found me, they softened with a warmth that wiped away every ounce of fear I had felt. "You idiot," she whispered, tears filling her lashes. "Why would you jump in like that? What if something happened to you?" I walked to her bedside and gently brushed her hair back. "How could I not? Sam, I thought I lost you. I would jump again 1,000 times." Her tears fell, silent but heavy. "I was so scared," she said. "When the water pulled me away, I thought I would never see you again." I sat down beside her and took her trembling hands into mine. The warmth of her palms, even weak, even shaking, felt like the most precious thing I had ever touched. "We're here," I whispered. "You're safe now." She looked at me for a long moment, as if memorizing my face, as if checking that I was truly real. Then she breathed out the words I never expected to hear so soon. "I realized something in that moment. I don't want a life without you." My heart felt like it burst open. "Sam," I whispered, choking on my emotions. She squeezed my hand, voice soft but certain. "When the water dragged me, I thought of you, only you. If there is something called fate, maybe this is it." I leaned forward and kissed her forehead, careful, trembling. "We survived the flood," I murmured. "Maybe we're supposed to build something new after this." Outside, the last raindrops slid off the roof, and inside that quiet clinic room, love finally found its voice.